The transport ship Valor's Edge had been adrift for 3 days when Sarah Lynn found them. She'd been running salvage ops in the Kepler borderlands, dangerous work, but honest. The distress beacon was faint, nearly swallowed by stellar interference. But Sarah had learned long ago to trust her instincts. Something about the signal felt wrong, desperate. When she breached the derelict vessel's cargo hold, Sarah expected corpses. What she found instead made her freeze. 4 pairs of eyes, golden, slitted, and utterly alien, stared back at her from the shadows. The cubs were huddled together in the corner, their sleek, scaled bodies trembling. They were Qatari, apex predators from the Andor system. Even as younglings, their claws could shred titanium plating. Their fangs could punch through combat armor. They were also starving. "Easy," Sarah whispered, lowering her plasma cutter. She kept her movements slow, non-threatening. The largest cub, probably no more than 3 cycles old, hissed, positioning itself between Sarah and the smaller ones. Protective, brave. Sarah recognized courage when she saw it. She crouched down, pulling a ration bar from her belt. The cubs tensed. The protective one's pupils dilated, tracking the movement with predatory precision. Sarah broke the bar in half, then quarters, and slid the pieces across the floor. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then hunger won over fear. The smallest cub darted forward, snatched a piece, and retreated. The others followed, their desperation overriding their instincts. Sarah watched them eat, her heart clenching. Someone had abandoned these children to die in the void, but someone was going to regret it. By the time Sarah got them back to her ship, she'd pieced together what happened. The transport had been struck by raiders, Qatari raiders, ironically enough. The adult crew had been killed or taken. The cubs, deemed worthless without their clan markings complete, had been left behind. Standard Qatari practice, according to galactic law. Cubs without parents belonged to no clan. They were Kashalate, abandoned, non-persons. Sarah had other ideas about that. "You're safe now," she told them as her ship's medical bays scanned each cub. 3 males, 1 female. Malnourished but otherwise healthy. The largest cub, the brave one, watched her with suspicious intelligence. "Why help?" It rasped in broken standard. Sarah blinked. The cub was young to be speaking at all. "Because you needed it," Sarah said simply. The cub tilted its head, clearly confused by the concept. Qatari didn't help the weak. They called them. "What are you?" the cub asked. "Human," Sarah replied. "My name's Sarah Lynn. What's yours?" The cub hesitated. "Ricket. I was Ricket of the Torn Sky clan." Was. Past tense. Sarah heard the pain in that single word. "Well, Ricket," Sarah said, extending her hand palm up, a gesture of peace across a dozen species. "Want to help me pilot this ship? I could use a co-pilot." Ricket stared at her hand for a long moment. Then, with exceeding care, placed 1 clawed paw on her palm. 3 months later, Sarah's ship had become something else entirely. Part salvage vessel, part mobile den, part chaos incarnate, the cubs had grown faster than Sarah expected. Ricket now stood to her shoulder, his scales darkening to the deep cobalt of an adult Qatari warrior. The others weren't far behind. They'd learned standard fluently, learned to operate ship systems, learned to hunt in 0G during their play sessions. They'd also learned something no Qatari cub had ever learned before: how to trust Sarah. Ricket called from the cockpit. "Debris field ahead. Possible salvage." Sarah joined him, noting how naturally he'd taken to navigation. His claws danced across the controls with surprising delicacy. The other cubs, Tekka, Vren, and Little Sis, were at their stations, monitoring sensors and power distribution, a proper crew. "Good eye," Sarah said, ruffling the crest between Ricket's ears. He leaned into the touch, a gesture that would have shocked any Qatari elder. Physical affection was not their way, but Sarah wasn't Qatari. And these cubs were learning a different way. As they navigated the debris field, Sis suddenly chirped in alarm. "Ships! 3 of them! They're Qatari configuration." Sarah's blood went cold. She pulled up the sensor data. Sure enough, 3 Qatari raiders, broadcasting clan markers. "The Torn Sky clan, Ricket's clan. They're hailing us," Tekka reported, his voice steady despite his fear. Sarah opened the channel. A scarred Qatari warrior appeared on screen, his eyes immediately locking onto Ricket. Kashala, the warrior spat. You survived, unfortunate. Ricket's whole body went rigid. Sarah saw his claws extend, saw the terror and rage warring in his eyes. She stepped forward, placing herself between Ricket and the screen. These cubs are under my protection, Sarah said, her voice cold as vacuum. Leave now. The warrior laughed. Human, you know nothing of our ways. Those cubs are clanless. They are nothing. We will reclaim our ship's hull and dispose of they are everything. Sarah interrupted, her hand moving to her plasma pistol. And if you want them, you'll have to go through me. The warrior studied her for a long moment. Then his eyes widened slightly. Recognition. You are the one they call Ghost Runner. The salvager who destroyed 3 pirate crews last cycle. Sarah smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. That's right. And I've been looking for something more challenging. So please give me a reason. The silence stretched. Then the warrior snarled and cut the connection. On sensors, the 3 ships began to withdraw. Ricket let out a breath he'd been holding. Why? He asked quietly. Why protect Kashala? We have no value. You are mine, Sarah said fiercely, turning to face all 4 cubs. You are my crew. My responsibility. She paused, searching for the right word. Are you our mother? Ricket asked, his voice small and hopeful in a way no Kateri warrior should ever sound. Sarah thought about that. About human definitions of family messy, chosen, built on love rather than blood. About how these 4 predators had somehow become the most important things in her universe. She smiled. Near enough. Ricket's answering purr was echoed by the others. And as Sarah Lynn plotted course for the next salvage run, surrounded by her unlikely family, she realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their ships or their stubborn refusal to quit. It was their infinite capacity to see worth where others saw none. To build family from strangers. To love what others deemed unlovable. The Qatari would learn that lesson eventually, and Sarah would make sure her cubs were there to teach it.